Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. If you are new to the page, in 1990 I became involved in the drug gang world. From 92 to '06, I spent a lot of time incarcerated. I tell these stories to let you know it don't have to be you. If you're young and thinking about trying something or you're figuring out how to get out, these are my stories of this lifestyle and how it affected me, and eventually I got out and transformed my life. So let's get into today's story. Today I am going to talk about how I got sober. Somebody dropped a comment earlier and said that they were new in sobriety. You know who you are. I'm not going to put your name out there, but that really meant a lot to me because this is a big reason I started this channel. I want to assist others in enjoying the life that I'm enjoying in their own way, obviously. But so today I'm going to talk about the last time I used and how I got sober. So the last time that I used, I was in Supermax 723 in LA County Jail. And it was like August the 7th of 2004. And somebody rolled up and they had some meth on them. And they asked if I wanted some, and typically when people roll up, they have very small quantities. Well, he had a decent quantity, so I said, sure, I'll take a line. And I proceeded to stay awake and my court date was on August the 9th, so I hadn't slept, and as they were calling us out for court line at 3:30 in the morning, I was coming down hard. Well, I went over to the guy's bunk, and to me, it's very disrespectful to wake somebody when they're sleeping, but I was hurting and I needed something, so I asked him if he had any more, and he said he didn't. So I'm off to court. Now, for anybody that's been to the county jails in Southern California, you know what a horrible experience going to court can be. Getting shackled up, waiting in the holding cells, riding the bus. It's a disaster. And I feel like they designed it that way to make you want to break and just take a deal. But I'm getting off course here. So August the 7th was the last time I used. I consider myself to be clean on August the 9th. Well, a lot of people say that jail time don't count because it's harder to get, but I call bullshit on that. It's in there. It's all over the place in there. And to be honest with you, it's not that hard to get, but it's really expensive. I never used again after that. And during my time in prison, somebody showed me what a $50 paper looks like. And if you've ever used on the street, imagine a $10 sack, give or take a little bit. That's $50 in the joint. So, once I got to prison, I wasn't really interested in that anyways because I wanted to be sharp and be on my toes. I was in a foreign environment that was obviously very dangerous, and like I worked out and read books, and I didn't use anything. So keep in mind, the majority, if you look at CDCR press releases, if you look at the majority of the homicide investigations where it's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 situation at these prisons where somebody becomes unalived, I would say 90% of the time that is over some sort of debt, whether it be gambling or drugs, a lot of times drugs. And it's that easy to lose your life. You run up a debt of a couple $100 and you can't pay, and they're going to send some people with sharp objects to put some holes in your body. It is what it is. So if you enjoy this sort of content, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, let me know what your experiences have been, and share this video if you think it might help somebody, because ultimately that's what I'm trying to do here. So I make parole. It's like February '06 now. And I make parole. I'm back on the streets of San Bernardino. And I go to my parole officer. And, I've been clean now for 16 months, give or take. And I want to stay that way. But I know how I am. I get back on the streets, and that hustler inside of me wants to do just that, make that fast money. I was looking for a job, and my first job coming out of prison, I worked for Liberty Tax on the corner of Baseline and Waterman. If you're familiar with that area, you know what I'm talking about. I was a Liberty, waving one of those signs that says the tax place is here. And I got clowned to no end, but you know what? It was an honest living. And like I said, I went to the parole officer, told him I wanted to get some in-house treatment. He told me I didn't need it. For those of you that are familiar with San Bernardino and parole, which there's a lot of us, I had Officer Rapizzi, and he was very difficult, to say the least. He would pop up all the time. He would threaten to take you to Chino, and like you'd be on your ass. So I made it a point that I wasn't going back, and he didn't want to fund me going to rehab. So I went and checked with some of the local rehabs, and I got what was called a county bed. Basically, the county will pay for you to go to rehab for a 90-day in-house treatment facility, and that's what I did. I started out at Gibson House. Like I said, if you're familiar with the area, you probably know what I'm talking about. Gibson House was a little too militant for me. A lot of yelling and screaming, and very military structured. And it just wasn't for me. So I ended up walking out of that program. And there was another one down the street called New House on 9th and Arrowhead that I ended up in. And at, I think about 45 days in, I walked out of that one too. But luckily, they took me back not too long after that, and I ended up completing that program. Now, I did a lot of NA meetings, a lot of AA meetings, and that sort of stuff. And, it was good for me because now I'm around people that are sober. And the crowd that I hung around with prior to that all used. So, the saying, if you hang around the barbershop, you're probably going to get your hair cut. Well, I didn't need another haircut. So, yeah, I found my new group of people that I wanted to, if you want to be successful, you find somebody else that's being successful and you emulate what they're doing. And that's exactly what I did. So, it wasn't easy. In the early days, it was really difficult, actually. But, taking it one day at a time and just changing a lot of the things I did helped out. I also got a sponsor, and I was working the 12 steps. I never finished the 12 steps, but, I made a decision that that's what I wanted for my life, and I changed a bunch of things, and this is what worked for me. This is what helped transform me from that criminal lifestyle and that partying all the time and using and running around and being up for days on end. I was done with it, and this is the way that I achieved that. And even to this day, I just all I can do is take it one day at a time. I don't put myself in situations where I might be tempted. I think I'm past that at this point, but why risk it? I'm like 18 years sober, 19 years sober. So yeah, I'm coming up on 20 already. That's amazing. But, you just do it one day at a time. For me, it was family, fitness, and freedom. My desire to not disappoint my family anymore was a strong factor in that. And the freedom is not only freedom from being incarcerated, but freedom from addiction and, being able to live a decent life. So that's where I'm at with this, and this is how I done it. So remember, like I always say at this time, don't look at the mountain, just start climbing.